no bad people in the world, but no reputable institution is ever going to ask for your credit card information, your date of birth, your social security, anything like that via email, right? So hopefully that's common sense to everyone, but it's a good thing to hear again that, a quick story that's just 2 weeks old and is real. And I'm still working out with my USA MasterCard what's going to happen with this charge on there now. Hopefully that brings some relevance to the room. So just a couple of takeaways. Again, never click on links or emails that look suspicious. At Prudential, we actually get test emails. They send us several emails per year that are trying to bait us into opening them. And they score us on how well we did in putting in our spam folder or actually clicking on links. And so far, I'm not probably doing as well as we should. But some of these things are tough, right? Never send sensitive email information via email. It's something that, it's become a little bit more commonplace in knowledge not to send those types of information over email, but no organization, no credit card, no bank, investment institution is going to ask for that via email. So pretexting is a little bit more insidious than phishing. This is when someone actually has bits and pieces of your information and they're actually trying to use that to get other information. So instead of it being a randomized broad attack, like phishing via email, this is something that's specific to you, right? So they're taking stuff they already know about you and trying to get you to complete other pieces so they can then try to unlock passwords and various different accounts you may have. So what do we all have online? What's our online footprint? Some of us have Facebook pages, LinkedIn. What kind of information is on there? Can everyone see this data in the back of the room? Getting some no's back here. I'm just going to read this out loud. So 55% of profiles online have birthday, which is at least the month and day. 51% have their high school name, 47% their email address, 31% their complete date of birth, including the year, 12% phone number, 11 sibling, 9% screen names for certain types of messengers and that kind of thing, 9% pet names, your mother's name. Does anyone find this information synonymous with what we might use in passwords online? Mm-hmm. Is this a little bit alarming to anyone? So first time I looked at this presentation a few years ago, I see this slide, I'm like, oh my goodness. First thing I do, I go to LinkedIn, start taking stuff off, go to Facebook, start taking stuff off. But just be aware, it's not only our profiles, but our loved ones, my wife, my sister, my brother-in-laws, my parents saw all those presents, right? It's not just about you, but let's make sure our loved ones also get this type of message and don't have information not only for themselves, but you on their profiles as well. So, basic identity theft, the phishing, scamming, skimming, all this type of stuff we just talked about. This is trying to give you an overview of what's out there and how people are trying to get your information. This ftc.gov/ID theft is really going to be the resource you want to go to for a little bit more in-depth look at some of the practices that are out there. For the purposes of a 40-minute presentation, we're not going to be as in-depth as the Federal Trade Commission website, but that's what we recommend you to check out. If you're writing stuff down, this would be the first thing I'd ask you to write down, that web address. Please go home and give it a good 15 to 20 minutes. Just start looking at some of the commonplace practices they actually do. So what happens if your information is compromised? www.idtheft.gov. That's sort of the next step. If it happens, if you get into a dispute, if you lose information, someone tries to access your accounts, your information, your money, this is where you go. And they actually start working with the credit reporting agencies and the institutions that your information has been compromised through. I'm very curious, has anyone in the room heard of either of those two websites before tonight? So I know there's a video camera in the room. For those of you not here right now, there's not one handed up. That's a learning, that's a take home, right? Here's a place we need to go to learn a bit more. Here's where we go if it does happen. There are commercial services that you can purchase for a small fee to keep an eye on your credit. to keep an eye, like they'll notify you if you have a change of address, if there's any changes to your credit report. I do personally subscribe to one. So we're all adults in the room. There's nothing that's perfect. This gentleman here, Todd Davis, we all remember those commercials like 2-3 years ago. Todd comes out with a LifeLock. He's so confident in his product. He puts his Social Security on the commercial. What happened to Todd? You ever thought? Thank you, sir. You guys identity. So these types of services have also grown and learned what's going on. They're a little bit different than what they used to be a few years ago. From what I'm told, they're a little bit more secure and more reliable than they've been in the past. Yes, sir.
I just got an email from the AAA, the New York Association. They said membership get free protection system.
Yeah, so just to repeat the comment from this gentleman in the front here, he said he got an email from AAA, and he said, look, with your membership at AAA, they also have a similar service. American Express has a similar service. There's a lot of the companies that, if you have an account through, they can also offer this stuff in-house. It will become attached. One thing I actually brought that I meant to mention earlier is an email I got from Home Depot. I mentioned we moved into a house 1.5 years ago. Those in the room are homeowners. They're just enormous money pits. There's a Home Depot about 1.5 miles from where we live, and I'm on a first-name basis with pretty much everyone there. But valued customer, as you may have heard, on September 8th, we confirmed that our payment data systems have been breached, which could potentially impact customers using payment cards at our U.S. and Canadian stores. We confirmed the malware breach in the U.S. was eliminated, yada yada. Moving forward, we are now offering customers who used a payment card at Home Depot 12 months of free identity protection services. So I've gotten one of these from Home Depot. I've got one of these from Target. I've got one from the USA now. So standing in front of the room, it's happened 3 times in the last 12 months. But one of the nice things is there is some personal accountability. One of the biggest risks, Judy had mentioned, the biggest risk they face is cybersecurity. One of the really big risks these companies face is something called headline risk. Does anyone know what headline risk is? You don't have to say anything else. That is the most beautiful word to describe that. I love that word, the optics, right? If you're in the headlines for something that's not good, that's really bad for your brand equity, which in turn will hurt your share price if you're publicly traded. Big companies are really concerned about that. So, not to cast too much doom and gloom out there, like you're going to lose your disinformation or get hacked or use your card at some institution that will have malware. They're very conscious about trying to do the right thing, and this does happen.
So do you recommend LifeLock, or which one do you recommend them?
So the one I have is by one of the credit agencies. It's just an app you get on your iPhone. I'll share it with you after this. So I was talking about earlier, there's basically 2 parts to the presentation. There's just some basics on identity theft. There's a little bit more that specifically related towards your investments, your insurance. So the first thing is, as it relates to your investment and insurance information, what does every household in America likely have in it, other than a TV? Computer, right? Most of us have cell phones. Here's a question. What happens with your computer and the data on it when we get rid of it, or your cell phone? We delete it, and we throw it out.
Yeah, but you can't really delete it all.
So we're all big boys and girls in the room. We're not just, probably no one here that's that naive, think it's just completely gone.